Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Good morning, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your happy host, James Snow, host of Legacy Cast's program here. And as the name would imply, we talk about things relating to legacies, not just with money, but what are you doing today that's going to make a difference in your tomorrow? What are you doing that lets people know that you lived and really the things that you cared about, what was valuable to you, the people that you touched, and also who was impacted by your existence. And my guest today, I have Brian Houston with me. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you for having me, James. It's a pleasure.
So, Brian, you're talking about just before we came on the show. You're there in Georgia. It's wonderful, beautiful area there. I actually, when I was going to the Army, we had a layover in Georgia, and I had that last moment of freedom there, looking out at the Atlanta airport just before going to basic in Fort Jackson. So that was pretty much my experience with the state of Georgia. I'm sure yours is a lot happier now that you live there.
Yes, I did have that same experience, though. Let's say that. But, I signed my life away at Fort Benning. So I did infantry airborne training over there. So that's pretty much what my experience was when I first got down here. But since then, it's been pretty good.
Oh, excellent. So we'll just kind of I guess get kind of to the meat and potatoes, as they say, of the program. So since we talk about legacies, and a lot of people, their first thought is going to be a financial thing, but like I mentioned, when I was doing the intro, it really is a bigger picture. It's kind of like your story. It's your story told your way, and so what does having a legacy mean to you, Brian?
Well, when it comes to having a legacy, it's like you said, it's more than money. It's more than just your possessions or the actual monetary things you can pass down to people. It's actually an idea, a type of a way of living that can help others that you want to pass on. You want to teach people how to become successful or be successful in their own right. You don't want to hinder anybody, and I think that's a pretty good way of leaving a legacy for someone.
Sure. So obviously you feel that that's a fairly important thing that people spend time, kind of pondering on. Would that be true?
I mean, hopefully, that's something that a lot of people would think about. You don't want to, I guess just not pay attention to what you're doing. Because you will be affecting people that are around you. You're not just in a bubble by yourself. You're always touching somebody. If they look at you or, if you actually talk to them or conversate with them, you're leaving an impact on somebody.
Sure.
So the best impact you want to leave is a good one, the best impression possible. So I'd hope people think about that.
Yeah. And, I'm actually quite surprised. I would agree with you that, you would think that people do, but I'm always surprised about how many people just leave things to chance. And it's really scary to me that somebody could kind of live their life, as they say, willy-nilly and just not really put a lot of planning into it. To me, that's doesn't make sense, but I guess for some.
That is really true. My mother always told me common sense isn't common. You would expect it to be, but it's not. And if you just let yourself go and not pay attention to what's going on, you're gonna get some lumps. You're gonna find out what the real world is like, and sometimes you're not gonna like it, but everybody's got to learn their own way, really.
Sure. You have a point there. So as far as from a business standpoint, how do you, Brian, correlate that kind of thinking, putting thought into, what's going to be long-term? How do you put that into your business planning?
I try to at least, that's kind of a hard question dealing with what I do. I mean, it's more of a feeling that I have, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
whenever I talk to somebody, I want to let them know that that can be them. You know, when you see things on the news, when you see things on TV, when you come across somebody else's scenario or situation, that can be you. You know, don't think you're different from anyone else in that aspect, you know.
Right.
The same bad things or the same negative things that are happening to somebody else can be happening to you, and you need to understand how to deal with those things. So with Vail Private Security and Protection and Safety and Training, we want to emphasize the safety portion, the safety, and know that those people down the street, those people you see on TV, those scenarios, that can be you. You need to understand and be safe around your environment and around the people that you care about. So I kind of incorporate it like that.
Yeah, and today, we're in a very, very precarious, I would say, time in our country, because we see a lot of stuff going on. It's every time we turn on the news, there's something happening somewhere, and there's kind of like people on both sides of the fence of do you do something or do you let somebody else take up that responsibility? I personally feel like we're put here to protect our family and those close to us, and so it's incumbent upon us to take responsibility for that. I'm guessing that's what your business is about, is taking responsibility for that and educate yourself, train yourself on it, etc.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the essence of it, but it really does go a lot deeper than that, because a lot of people think that, oh, I can just go buy a gun or go buy a rifle or a shotgun or something, and I'll just go to the range and shoot it a couple times at a piece of paper and I feel safe, or I'm good and I know everything I need to know about it. And that is far, far from the truth.
Right.
There's lots of things. There's a mentality that you need in order to be in order to be safe, and not just for people who carry them or just want to have one for safety. Just if you want to know about them in general, the laws, the regulations, if you're around people, you go to Walmart, you go to the gas station, you go up the street, somebody or somewhere probably has one in your vicinity. And it's best to understand those scenarios and how to be safe around those, especially even if you have kids and you know somebody that has one. Mm-hmm. You don't need to actually have your hands on it to be safe.
True. Yeah, and like we said in the service, keeping your head on a swivel, know where that situational awareness is know where the doors are, know where the windows are, know where the exits are, and always thinking that way.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't have to take it to an extreme, being paranoid and always think somebody has something around them, because that's exactly what we want to try and deter also is being safe, but also knowledgeable. You don't have to be afraid of a gun. You don't have to be afraid that a neighbor has one. It's best to understand what is around you, because people only are afraid of what they don't understand.
That's true.
So you get that understanding, you get that, you come to a course, you come to a class, you ask some questions, get some pamphlets, get some knowledge under your belt, and then you can figure out if you like the situation or the scenario or not. That is all up to a person themselves, but it's best to always get some knowledge on what you're talking about.
Sure. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is definitely power.
It is. I'll post that on my website all the time. Knowledge is power. There's nothing better.
And just in my world, it's obviously less dangerous than other things, when you mess with people's money. But it's like what you don't know. It's like you don't know what you don't know, and it's really important to educate ourselves on things.
That's what I would love for people to do, is to educate themselves, because a lot of people, like you said, they call the police or they call other people to help them in situations that they probably wouldn't have been in if they understood what was going on, or if they had some knowledge about the scenario or what was going on. It's always good to understand something before, you just have a knee-jerk reaction to something,
Yeah. Yep. So if you're to think about your business kind of from a CEO standpoint for a minute, Brian, what would you say the business things are that kind of keep you up at night?
I would say trying to get in contact with people who aren't afraid, who actually, I guess, people new to understanding firearms or guns of any kind. A lot of them are hesitant. You know, they don't really know what to think. So they don't know where to go, and they don't know who to actually talk to about it that's unbiased. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people that you talk to have one opinion or the other. So, you know, I think that's pretty much my problem, you know, or what keeps me up at night. I'll think about talking to someone, and then, you know, they'll start talking politics to me or whatnot, and I'll say, okay, now I got to beat the sweat going down. Like, I don't want to get into politics now. That's something you never want to talk about. And, you know, that's what we want to stay away from. We just want to give information about these things. That's all. We don't advocate people going to the range and getting firearms and doing all that stuff. That's not what we want to do. There's lots of places out there that you can do that at, and we have resources for that if you want to get into that. But our main concern is understanding what's around you. Yeah. So that's what keeps me up, you know, getting that word out there. I always get, so you teach us how to shoot. So you teach us how to shoot. No, I mean, yes, I don't want to say no, but yes, we can teach you how to fire a firearm. But, you know, it's way more than that. It's way more than that.
Yeah. So you say it's more of a mindset thing that you do. You work on
it's more of a mindset. It's more of a, you know, understanding the laws, like, you know, concealed carry permits, or what the difference is between a revolver and a semi-automatic. You know, these little things a lot of people don't know. You know, I've seen on Facebook, I guess there's posts of people that have little pieces of screwdrivers and call them bullets or something. You know, it's like, I don't understand what people do sometimes and where they get their information. So I would like to be able to get some people off of that page and get them on the right page.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So as far as strategies, how do you feel like that as far as importance? Do you think that's an important thing for business?
Strategy, of course. That's without that, that's good. You're asking for trouble if you don't have a good strategy going in with something like this. You know, you have to tread lightly, because this is, like I said, this is a really big political issue, and you don't want to get tied into those kind of things. You know, we have sponsors, and you know, we talk to different companies that make firearms and, you know, components and things like non-lethal stuff, but we don't promote those things because that's not what we're here for. If you come in and we talk to you and, you know, that's something that you like or something you would get into, okay, fine, we can move into that. But you got to have a plan, man. You got to have a plan. You can't just jump in like it's all willy-nilly and, you know, just talk and say whatever you want to and expect people to actually listen to you and understand.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me, the number of people that go into a business, you know, for example, and they don't put up a business plan, and they don't go through that planning process and figure out, you know, what are they going to do, you know, at different stages along the way. And it's like, you know, you go on vacation without a roadmap. You know, how do you plan on getting there if you don't have a map?
Yeah. I mean, I've been working on this plan since probably since I joined the military in 2008. So, you know, I've been working my plan for about 10 years now, you know, about to go on 11. So it's a long road to just at least thinking about it to fruition. You know, it comes a point when you say, okay, it's never a perfect time to do anything, but the time that you choose to do it.
Sure.
You know, as soon as you're ready to do it, that's when it's time to get it done. And that's what I decided to do last year. And I said, okay, I got to do it. I got to do it. I see everything that's going on right now. I have a lot of skills I could teach people, and
sure.
I just hate seeing it. I just really hate seeing it. So I had to be part of the community and start helping. You know, I can't sit there and let that stuff happen and know I can provide something to help out and not do it.
Yeah, and you know, ultimately, you know, that's going to be part of your legacy, Brian, is that, you know, instead of just sitting back and watching it go on, you stood up and started taking action. And
Absolutely.
That's part of your legacy. And that's what a lot of people should do. Whether it's, the direction that you've gone, the direction that I've gone, whatever somebody's vision is, whatever their mission is to take action in it, make the world better, because, we're given a finite amount of time to do things. And then what we should do is, spend that time trying to make the world better than we found it.
Absolutely. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. It's, you do a lot. Well, you get out what you put in. That's how I feel. And it's, if you really are trying to slide by and just live it, okay, go ahead. That's your prerogative. You can, but I don't feel fulfilled like that. I have to help somebody, and I think that's just like any military person who's actually joined or whatnot. They have at least a part of that mentality where they wanted to help somebody else and they were willing to do so. And I don't think that should go anywhere. I think you should always at least have a little bit of that in you. So if you do have something in you, you can keep that, like you said, a legacy going. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't know that person, you can plant that little seed in their head and go about your business and never see them again in life. But hopefully eventually you'll see him on TV one day and say, I think I seen him at the gas station one day and I said something to him. And that would make me happy. That's I like that.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you think some of the most common reasons are that new business owners fail or just give up in the process?
I think they stop because they really don't know how to take the failure, because you're going to fail. Mm-hmm. I don't really think of it any other way. When I started this, I thought I was going to fail, at least in a couple different parts. Mm-hmm. And if you have to accept it, and if you can't accept it, it's hard. It gets overbearing, but if you can accept it, move on, change your strategy, whatever strategy that you didn't have that you had in the beginning, if it didn't work out, change it up a little bit, and see how it works, and again, it is a risk. All businesses are a risk. There's no guaranteed business. You can, at least business that makes revenue, right. Say that, you can have businesses that, you just sit there and do things for the community. You're not in it to actually spread and make more money or whatnot. But, successful businesses money-wise are that's not the first time that they actually started doing what they were doing. That's probably a 15th reiteration of what the business originally was, So when it comes down to taking that failure and keeping it and using it for your benefit, mm-hmm. I think a lot of people have a difficult time doing that. So they stop and they say, this is my perfect idea. I don't have another idea. I can't do it anymore better than what I just thought of it. And that's kind of a setback. And, I kind of went through that at one point. My business didn't work the way that I wanted to at first, and I had to wait for another 2 years before I could do anything else. So, it was kind of twiddling my thumbs and stressing my head a little bit, but that actually gave me a chance to reiterate and think about some more business plans inside of the business. So Sometimes taking a break isn't bad, but stopping altogether is probably because they're afraid of the failure. And it's okay to be afraid of it, but don't let it stop you. That's what I would say.
Well put. So what would be some maybe some specific roadblocks that you would advise for someone just starting out to look out for?
Obviously the legal aspects of whatever you're doing. You always, from the very beginning, you want to just for your own personal safety or your own business safety, decide what kind of business you have. That's going to be a big hurdle, because if you're going to have a lot of employees or if you're working by yourself, that's going to be number one, is dealing with if you're going to have a LLC or a corporation or S corporation or C corp. You have to decide these different things in the very beginning, and you don't want to save that to the very end, because that's going to really bite you in the butt, when you got to do your taxes and you talk to your CPA or something, is going to be a really bad scenario for you, or a rough one. I'm not saying everybody can't do it, but it's going to be harder than you would want it to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. So as far as maybe some resources and support that's out there for a new entrepreneur, what would you recommend they look for?
For my personal self, I kind of looked into, since I was dealing with firearms and safety training, I looked for companies that also catered to what I was doing. I just made connections dealing with people with the same mindset that I had. So it would be easier to spread out, network. So I guess like-minded people or like-minded organizations. If your business runs off of clothing, go ahead and get connected with people who supply, Walmart, or people who, have clothes for resale, and find out where they get their clothes from, or these different opportunities. Connect with people who have the same like mindset as you do.
Sure.
Okay.
So as far as maybe personal values or, your creed, the things that really drive you, how do you incorporate that into your business?
Like we said in the beginning, you just don't, dealing with failure, you just don't quit. You just don't stop. When it comes down to a business or, something that you're making that is stress on the brain and not physically. It's not physically stressful, but it's mentally taxing on you. You gotta, you kind of got to block it out just a little bit and let go of the things that you can't control. So I incorporate that by saying, okay, you might have some people taking a test and they don't happen to get the right answer. They don't get the perfect score, on the written portion or whatnot. Or if we're at the range and they don't hit in the right area, you have to critique. It's not a one-time, that's it. You have to keep going, and in order to get better and more proficient with what you're doing, let it be the knowledge that you're getting or the training that you're getting on the range or whatnot, you have to keep going, keep striving for it, and keep practicing. That's all. Keep learning and keep gaining your knowledge. And the more knowledge that you gain, the more practice that you do, hopefully the better you will be at it if you take it seriously. So that's what I try and tell my students, that when we're going through drills or when we're going over information, I try to, pound it into their head. It's just repetitive. Just keep repeating it. And eventually by the end of the class, I can't get them to stop saying it. So, it's just like, there you go.
Yeah. So what is something that you wish you had done earlier in life that you've learned is important that you didn't do?
I think I probably should have started working on my business a lot earlier. That's what I think. Everybody wants to retire by the time they're 45. That's something like that. But if I was, I guess I don't really have any regrets. I don't really think that I wanted to do anything better or longer or had a different experience, because I still feel like I got time to do it. Yeah. It's not a one-time shot and it's over. I still got time. I can do anything that I want to. So if I say I always wanted to take a cruise, or I wish I took a cruise when I was 18, then okay, well, let's see if I could take a cruise in the next couple months or something and get that knocked off of the list. It doesn't really, I really don't think about the past in the way that I wish I could do something different.
Sure.
I just add it on to what I'm getting ready to continue doing.
Oh, good on you, man. So let's talk about you a little bit more from a personal direction for a few minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah.
And what hurdles did you personally face, especially with the military transition and starting a business? What hurdles did you face, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I know one big hurdle was being Well, I mean, a lot of people may not. Well, I guess ex-military personnel wouldn't really think of it too much, but being overqualified for what I wanted to do, they don't have an area for paratroopers, you know, or anybody who did that kind of work. You know, after you get out, you have to find a place that you can do the same thing or be close to the same thing. And what I did security. So, but the thing is, doing security is not the same thing as what we did in the military. So, you know, it's still a difference. It's a big difference. So just gradually getting into that, I worked at like maybe 6 to 10 different security offices when I first got out, just because it wasn't enough. You know, it wasn't exciting enough for me. You know, and then you end up going to doing paramilitary things, and you know that kind of got back into what I wanted to do. You know, EP work and doing all that kind of stuff. That's what I like. But then I ended up having a family, so you know, getting married, and then getting ready to have a daughter and everything. You gotta really balance these things out. So then that military mentality comes around again, and you have to set your priorities.
Sure.
So your priorities, you got to say, all right, it's my wife, it's my kids. All right, I got to, you know, if I'm going to make a business or if I'm going to do this and that, I got to make sure I got a plan. I can't screw this up. You know, it may not be one time and that's it, but I don't want to put anybody else through any kind of drama, you know, outside of myself. So, you know, if I got somebody to take care of, I do it as best as possible. And that's something that I had to deal with, taking care of somebody else that wasn't in the military, that didn't do the same things that I did.
Right. So when you were starting your business, maybe you can kind of talk me through what that looked like when you were first starting out. You know, what was that process like?
That process was very painful. There is so much paperwork dealing with trying to start a security/firearm safety training business. So much red tape. You know, you got state paperwork you got to go through. You have to go, me personally, I had to go through like 2 or 3 sets of fingerprints, and, you know, the fees and everything dealing with that. You really have to plan it. You have to have a plan, you know, and have whatever you need put to the side before they actually need it, or before you have to deal with it. So that's exactly what I did. I had to sit back and think about what I needed, went over all the paperwork, all the signatures I was going to have to do, notaries, all of that stuff, and sat it to the side and said, okay, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to get it done. And then put it all together, went over there, and it kind of went fast. It kind of went kind of quick for the first week or two dealing with the paperwork. That kind of went through quick because I had everything done. But after that, it was, man, trying to advertise and trying to get my personal certifications ready for, you know, state licensing and doing those kind of things. That was pretty stressful. Like, oh God, they only have this course this day and it's next month and I got this to do next month. And, you know, just being a lone business owner, you have to do all of those pieces. You have to do everything before you can hire a secretary, hire anybody to take any weight off of your shoulders. You got to understand all of those pieces of it before you can let somebody else take the reins on. So, you know, that was pretty harsh.
Yeah, sounds like it. So,
yeah.
So, what really compelled you to go in this direction, though?
I guess it was, you know, just seeing the things that I was seeing, you know, having the knowledge that I have about firearms and shooting and all this kind of stuff and safety. I look at people that don't know anything about it, or I read like you said, it's all in this country at this point in time. And I don't want to get political. There's nothing that I'm talking about like that, but I'd say there's a lot of ignorance about firearms out there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean ignorance in a negative way. I just mean that they don't understand or they don't know about them. And again, they just rely on somebody else to get the job done or to understand it for them, you know, and that's not, I mean, as you know, as well as you can see, it's everywhere. It doesn't work. You know, that doesn't make any sense. It's not making anything better. So, you know, I see it, and I talk to people that, for example, they may have one, but they don't know what to do with it. They just want it to feel safe. And it's like, I don't understand how that makes you feel safe. That would make me feel more unsafe, having something like that and not knowing how it works. You know, so a lot of people just do it off of what they see on TV or what they hear, you know, and I just didn't like that because I have a family. I don't need them walking around or driving around people that don't know what they're doing with it, or, you know, just don't have the general knowledge about it. And that's exactly why I taught my wife, you know, and she doesn't particularly like them. You know, she doesn't want to carry one herself, but I have one in my home. So you're going to know how it works, and you're going to know how to keep it safe and make sure that it is safe, you know, even if you don't like it. And it's just knowledge. That's all it is. You may not like math, but you're going to end up needing it one day to do something, you know, so it's beneficial in my opinion.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And, you know, and ultimately, like in the case of your family, you know, if something happens to you, then she's the second line of defense between whatever that danger is and your daughter. So yeah, it's just understanding those realities.
Yeah, and that's what I always want to, like I said, I always try and tell the students that can be you. You see it on the news, you see it anywhere else. Don't think that you're safe just because you're in your home. You know, things happen in people's houses all the time. People, you know, things happen in the street, and you may not need any firearm. You may not need any protection like that in any way, and that's your prerogative. But if somebody does have one around you in a scenario like that, then what do? It's like, well, and that's your fault. You have to go get that information. You have to find out about how to be successful and safe.
Sure. So besides what you're doing, is there another particular career that you've ever thought you'd like to go into at some point?
I can't really say. I mean, I can't really say that I wanted any other career than to at least, I mean, teach. Like, you know, dealing with instruction, because I was in the military. So, you know, anything dealing with instruction, I was okay with. That's what I actually planned on since I joined. So I mean, I'm pretty much stuck with what I was wanting to do. I could say when I was in the military, I wanted to be a pilot, but my vision wasn't good enough. You know, so I knocked that career out. You know, so I can't say that I wanted anything else except for what I'm doing right now. I guess I'm blessed to be able to do the stuff that I actually wanted to do.
So instead of flying them, you jumped out of them, right?
Huh?
So instead of flying them, you just jumped out of them.
Oh yeah, exactly. Instead of flying, I just decided to jump out of them because, you know, I was so mad at the pilot. Yeah. It was fun though. It was a great job.
Yeah. So what would you say your greatest strength is then, Brian?
I think my greatest strength is my imagination.
Okay.
And I say that just because, you know, it takes a lot of thinking and a lot of changing up your strategies and things to try and stay ahead of the curve, you know, to try to be a good person in general. You know, you got to be able to think in somebody else's shoes, you know, just have an imagination, a good way of thinking so you can understand what's going on around you. And I think that's a really good strength of mine. I I guess I'm a watcher. I learn by watching, and I think it's really, I think that's a strength. That's all I can say. I just do it because it's pretty easy for me. So.
And so on the flip side of that, what would you say your greatest weakness would be then?
Greatest weakness. I'm stubborn. I'm extremely stubborn. When I have an idea that I believe is a good idea, or I think can work, I try my best and hardest to get it to work.
Okay.
Even if it may not work. I may sit there and just, do the false motivation to myself and say, no, it's going to do it. It's going to do it. It's like trying to get a lawnmower to turn over, even though it doesn't have any gas in it. It's like, it's going to happen. I know it is, but I guess sometimes that I would consider that being my greatest weakness. So that's something I also had to adjust once I got out too. When it's no longer a mission, you got to compensate a little bit, just a little bit. So I had to learn about that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with you on that particular weakness. I struggle with that one myself. That, and add to it a little bit of patience problem.
Oh, yeah.
So where do you get your best ideas at? A lot of people, they have that special place that they go to get a good idea, maybe, out in nature, or, walking the dog, or, the latrine, wherever it is. Where's that place that you get your best ideas?
Well, I get my best ideas in two places. One is when I'm laying next to my wife watching TV. And it's kind of weird, but I'll be watching TV and some things will come on, like some different ideas or something. So, infomercials may come on. And for some reason, that'll give me a good idea about like an ad, or, a different way I can, teach the class somehow. And okay, I guess that's where I get some of my good ideas. But the other ones are, like you said, out in nature. I sit in front of my fire. I have a fire pit, and just throw some logs in there, kick the feet up a little bit, crack open a beer, and just, sit there and think, and, just sit in my imagination. Like I said, I got a really good imagination. So I just go along the whole storyline and just put some things together. And eventually it just comes together for me. At least hopefully it comes together for me. But if not, I got all day to think.
So if you can describe maybe at a very high level what goes on behind your business that you need for people to understand and need people to know about what you do. How would you describe that?
Well, at Vail, we want to emphasize safety, period. That's number one, period. I mean, before you touch a piece of paper, before you get into a real deep conversation with anybody, any of my instructors, you will see safety everywhere. And that is, that's one main big stressor. It's just, that is what we want to portray to everyone. And after you understand being safe, then you can move on to understanding specific firearms and what they do. And after you find out what the specific firearms do, then you can go to a specific firearm and get training on that firearm. Mm-hmm. So we take it in steps. You go from learning safety, then the laws, regulations, things dealing with carry permits, and why you should or why you shouldn't, different things like that. Sure. Then you move over to firearm safety, which is where you keep the firearm, where you the cartridges, the pointing of the barrel, all of those different safety features, safety things that you need to do dealing with firearms in general. And then you move to a specialty, which is like basics of pistol shooting. That's when you go into the different kinds of pistols like revolvers, semi-automatics, the different loads that they carry, how to disassemble, clean, how to put those away. And we actually do take you to the range and you get a certification for pistol shooting at that point. And that's those are the steps that we take. So no, it's not just we teach you how to shoot. It's a whole lot more than that. And we can give you a whole lot more information on that if you were looking for or looking to purchase a firearm and, just learn some things about it. That's exactly what we want. We just want to bring people in to understand things and just be part of the understanding of it. Then you can move on to something more specific if you want. So that's what we really want to stress is it's all about information first. After information, then you can decide what you want to do.
And to kind of wind up our conversation this morning, which has been super enlightening and quite entertaining and educational. What is something, Brian, that you can tell me about you that nobody else knows? Kind of a trivia question. What was something about you that nobody knows about you?
Nobody knows about me. You mean absolutely nobody? Like nobody?
Well, or at least most nobody.
Okay. I guess I'm actually pretty shy. So when my actual nickname in the military was Mumbles.
Mumbles?
Mumbles, yeah, because only my squad could understand what I was saying. Nobody else could understand it. So it's kind of like a family thing while I was there. They were the only ones who could understand me, and everybody else was like, huh, what did he say? Where? So I think that's something not a lot of people know about me. Nickname Mumbles.
Yeah, so it came out of your shell, apparently.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, Bub. Well, it's been a great time here. So, before I let you go, if you can just let our listeners today know how they can get a hold of you, how to reach out, how to learn more about what you do and what you can offer. And how would they get you?
Yeah. First off, my name's Brian Houston. You can find me on Facebook at Brian Houston. But you could also look up my company, Veil Private Security and Protection, LLC, Safety and Training, on Facebook. I also have an email at brianh@veilprivatesecurity.net, and the website for Veil is also veilprivatesecurity.net. You can go on there. You can subscribe. We have some different web things that we can send you and some downloadable images and information that you can download straight off the website. So there you go.
Cool, people. Well, you have no excuse to be ignorant any longer. You now know where to go to get your information. So
thank you very much.
Ignorance is not an excuse. I thank you for coming on the program today, Brian, and letting us know a little bit about what you do and how you're helping people in the community to be a little bit safer, a little bit stronger, and live longer lives.
Thank you. And like you said, ignorance is not an excuse. Let's get that out there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, and you have a great weekend.
You do.